Getting this shot of the terrible Bondo work by the previous shop cost me $145. I'll get into that in another video. But there you go, people. This is going to be one reason why I am going to refinish and repaint this terribly non-primed, repainted front bumper later. Some patience and small pieces of electrical tape will get the emblem completely masked off. So use a combination of masking tape and electrical tape around the curves. Really slide it in underneath the grille surround so that your paint goes on well. I used electrical tape where I did the repair because it's softer on that. You guys couldn't see this because I told you you're not here, but you can see how careless they were before getting the silver paint. This stuff is all over on all the trim pieces on this car. So I'm just gonna redo all this stuff properly. The only thing that's a bit difficult is those warning labels, covering them up properly with electrical tape. You should be cutting little curves at the edges because they are curved warning labels, but I'm just gonna do what I can. See there, you can see some of the Avis paint on the plastic trim. Just gonna have to take my word for it. It is all annoyingly oversprayed on a lot of trim components on this car. So those labels on the top are proving quite annoying. This is a backbreaker, okay? And I'm telling you, the most important thing, I don't want to say bad words about this, but this design is just sturdy enough and just flimsy enough that it is going to annoy the life out of you. So the way I have it on the couch here is the easiest way to be able to do any of this, but you really need to be careful, okay? You shake this, you pick it up the wrong way, you're gonna crack something. I'm serious, okay? So I had to remend a bit of the bodywork I did on the left because I picked it up and started shaking it when I washed it for the previous video. But everything is going to be fine because the work I've done is solid enough. But I can't stress enough how important it is to work on this in places that make you break your back so that this grille doesn't flex too much and break. And when you're painting, it's the same thing. Like it was in the garage, you got to put it on something supported the way I explained it. So get used to it for these newer German vehicles that are built to a price point yet still have enough quality that we can keep them alive. Not like the stuff we get now, like made today. If you really have the patience, grab a small razor blade and cut the curves for those stickers. But I got to my wit's end and I just squared them off, so it's not going to look the best, but under a microscope you will see the difference in color. I wasn't going to do these at all if the people before hadn't oversprayed their Avis paint onto the plastics at the top. I was going to leave that the normal plastic color. So here we are, everything taped off, and now I'm going to do one round, then I'll do the grille surround, and then we will see how it looks. And I'm going to paint the center thing, plate filler, as well. I highly don't recommend painting when it starts getting dark, but my life is in a place where I'm really busy and I gotta get this project keep on going. So I have enough skill to know when the paint has dried. Here's how we're looking for now. And this is not easy. You gotta paint from this angle, you gotta paint from the other angle, all angles to get inside the honeycombs and to get inside all of those little grills inside of the emblem. And the hardest part is that you have to also pick it up, hold it on a 45 to even get the very insides of the honeycomb, if that makes any sense, from both sides. So you got to lift it there and you got to lift it from here without getting your fingers on the finish. So it's looking okay for now. Give it another coat or two and keep it going. So where are we? These grill inserts are also going to get painted. You see what I was talking about? There's little pieces of Avis silver, whatever, and we want it to match the new paint on the grills. So I haven't de-taped this yet. We're going to let it dry overnight. There's the other one you can see in the corners. It's old plasticky paint. So I didn't want to refinish these, but I think the matte finish is going to look really nice on the honeycombs. But we shall see. Other items of work. The air scoops are just a painful process of a little bit of JB Weldon clips, because on the inside of this one there are so many really small clips, so many small pieces of plastic broken. This is just going to take a real long time to refurb those. So have an engine under tray, people. That's the lesson here. Somebody didn't run an under tray, a log, a stick, something absolutely bashed this, and most likely is what also caused those radiator fans to get bent that you have seen in other parts of the series. So these got to get finished and painted. The biggest tip I'm going to give you guys here for the more beginners is do not, absolutely do not paint even the smallest piece inside the garage. Out of a rattle can, it's a bit, you could maybe get away with it, but don't do that, okay? If you tarp up, make a little like tarp room in a corner. But if you're shooting out of a gun, especially if you're shooting a 2-part clear coat, or even your paint is coming out of a gun, that mist is going to go everywhere, okay? You leave the smallest gap in the place that you try to close off. I don't care what you come up with on your own. You will get clear coat. You will find clear coat sitting on things that you couldn't imagine it would be on. So, no painting unless your car, your bike, everything that has value to you is out of the garage. And you don't care to have a layer of random ugly orange peely clear coat on some of your stuff. So that's the takeaway here. I'm doing this stuff in the backyard because I have experience and I can get it down before I get dust or leaves or anything into it, and because this car is a beautiful boat anchor that has been the guest of the channel for quite some time, but she's not going anywhere. We'll get all the parts, get it back together, and look forward to more of this painting process as things dry and get welded and mended, and you guys get the idea. I'm not going to get into it in this part of the bodywork series, but that piece bottom center, a few days after I bought the car, I was driving around the neighborhood. It fell off. It's part of one of the brake intake scoops. Important information about that for those of you that drive the car year round. And other things. We'll see how much pieces we find or don't find or whatever. But just thought I found that on the shelf there. I remembered that. So yeah, people, these are all lessons. That under tray is so crucial. I don't care if you can't find an RS4 one, get an A4 one. You're not track driving it. Just cover it up. Okay? Or I don't know. I still got to get one myself somehow. We'll see what we do. I'm honestly starting to think I'm going to get a A4 one, and people on the forums have talked about something called NACA ducts or something else, and maybe I'm just going to build a template and do a full DIY on it so that all of you can make it, or I don't know if I'll make them and ship them, sell them. There are other brands, maybe we'll buy them. We'll see, but all of these cracks and breaks you're seeing on my car, this is a car lowered on KWs, and the person that drove it before me was not even that crazy of a person. But it was driven on farm roads, which is a terrible thing. I mean, it's good because there's long straights and the car gets pushed and used. But gravel, rocks, one stick. I mean, it can happen anywhere. I don't care where you are. All right? Under trays, absolutely crucial for these cars. Please don't run yours without them so that these cars stay on the road longer. Because even something like that smashes an oil pan, smashes anything. You guys have seen underneath at least just this one how sensitive everything is, especially when the car is that low. And just use your brains, okay? You have a brain, you were able to buy a car like this, continue using it. One thing nobody needs to teach you, nothing ever goes to plan. So you got to get creative. That clamp is holding it down. Use what you have in the garage. We live in a time where money is something you got to be careful with always. So I just got a paint stick and a ruler with a clamp that's oversized for the job. But that big crack, I don't even know what those things are called. Paper clips? They're not paper clips. They're some kind of clothesline clips or something. Those things did not have reach to get to that big crack around that flexible, mendable edge. So this clamp, JB Weld's going to go in between it. You see I got a piece of tie wire. Just be creative in these kind of things. Everything's going to be different. Even if you had those little Home Depot clamps like the alligator ones, they might not reach far enough. So just use what you can find. I had to do a slight adjustment, move the ruler and the paint stick down so that the crack is nicely in line in preparation for the JB Weld. So just move it around the crack until you find the right spot to align the two pieces together. The piece of wire wasn't doing anything. I took that off. Don't even bother. Only use clamps or the clothesline things. Now here's the thing. Bulk up on the JB Weld on the outside if you're using this method. But on the inside, we'll take a look at this before we do the other work. But you want it to be as nice and smooth of a finish because you don't want ugly bumps through those see-through honeycomb grills at the bottom of your car afterwards. So, delicate process, but doable without a plastic welder. Final note, RS4 people. So, that bigger compressor, I use it a lot more than this one. I came and took this one out for the first time after a while, and when I opened the drain valve, the air drain valve, I got a bunch of rusty, spitty, nasty water coming out. So run these things regularly, drain your tanks so that moisture doesn't build up and rust doesn't build up and eventually ruin possibly a portion of your mini compressor, because these things could run for a long time. So this is the carbon clean air compressor that some of you may have. Even if you have another brand, same concept applies. Run it regularly, drain your tank.